for those of you who are asking, well, how much rejection did you face starting something completely brand new? A lot, a lot, because I had no idea what I was doing. It was more so curiosity was leading me. And then I started to engulf myself in different kinds of communities. So, communities completely outside of what I was used to, like absolutely different. So, I would be going to startup events. Did I have a startup at the time? No, but I was so curious and so fascinated about startup founders because they were sharing their gifts with the world without caring if they were going to have any funding in front of, 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 VCs. And I remember I signed up for this pitch deck competition. Now, for, proposing a pitch, most of these people had their startups that they were raising funds for. They were doing a series A, or they had like a team behind them. And I, at the time, had a nonprofit. It was called Independent Awakening. And I wanted to get better at storytelling. And so this is a perfect example of, if you are curious at how to get out of your typical mundane routine and situation that you've been used to and accustomed to, you have to do things that are different. You have to find ways to break out of what you've been used to. And not everybody knows that, nor do they seek that out because, again, we don't know what we don't know. And I didn't know my path to becoming an author was going to stumble across taking an improv class and then signing up for a pitch training because I had this nonprofit that was teaching women and girls self confidence at the time and self love. And, it was really on the heels of my divorce that I really started this organization to give voice to what I was really healing at the time. And for me, it felt so cathartic to then give back because I finally found my voice. And in sharing that, I was able to really open my throat chakra and speak from my truth and my essence. And then, of course, then the speaking engagements came. Then, of course, more entry points into, well, how would you write this book? And so it kind of goes back to the saying, when you're ready, the teacher appears. When you're ready, listening to this episode at this moment in time, and if you're facing a lot of rejection, if you're facing a time right now where you feel like all of the doors that are closing, that are like, you know what, maybe this is not the right time for you. Maybe this is not in the cards for you, or maybe the universe has better plans. For me, it was like, okay, I'm saying yes to whatever is going to be in front of me. I don't have an agenda. I don't have a direction, but what I'm really curious about is, how are these startup founders okay with getting 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 rejections? And so I spent a lot of time with them. I started immersing myself in them. I started taking classes and even nonprofit management course that I took at Stanford to become better at storytelling and nonprofit management for the nonprofit that I was running, Independent Awakening. Now, I was sitting next to some of these big wigs and these, huge fundraisers for these mega nonprofits. And I was like the tiniest fish in the room. Again, not knowing anything. I had a teeny tiny little, it was a startup of a nonprofit that wasn't, profitable. It wasn't an actual business, which I knew business, but this whole nonprofit world was completely different. And at the same time, I was also spending time mentoring female founders because I had started to angel invest in a lot of these companies. Thank you to the pitch training that I did, because in the pitch training, I started to spend time with venture capitalists who were like, Neeta, why aren't you raising money for anything? What is this nonprofit that you're doing? Because it was so different than all of the other 30 participants in this cohort. And of course, I didn't win first place because obviously I didn't have a startup, but I won second place because they're like, are either you're trying to do like motivational speaking or transformational speaking, but you have this energy towards you. And there's something about that that's very intriguing. See you next time at the Brave Table.